So back with Aladar on November 10th, and this will be introduction to a tarp for him. And now I've been a bit under a time crunch with him for the tip challenge, which is coming up pretty quickly. So I always like to introduce the tarp by having them follow me, but you'll see here I'm going to roll it up really small, almost like thinking it's like a brush. So he's been used to me brushing him and using some strange objects, but right now I'm going to use a little bit of positive reinforcement with some grain. Now he's been a little also not too food motivated, so I have a little bit of a window where I can use this. And so I'm just trying to create a positive association with this strange feeling that he has. And of course I'm using the cluck sound to bridge that gap. I'm letting him sniff it. I always try to introduce it to him first, kind of prepare him for what I'm going to do. But you see he's such a good boy and letting me touch it, but now he's kind of getting a little bit over the food, which is okay because he still responds really well to my voice and to release. And now I'm going to essentially do the same on the other side. So I got a little worried there. I really love his expression. And he even takes a step in towards me, which is a good thing. And I'm going to kind of do the same thing on this side. And now you'll see I am actually talking with my working student, which can be kind of a nice distraction because all the pressure is taken away. You know, there's no real focus on that tarp right now, so gives him a bit of a minute to think about some things as I'm just kind of ignoring that he's there. And I really like watching his curiosity there as I was unfolding it, just kind of showing it to him, and then I'm going to go back and do the same thing that I did. So just recreating that pattern that he's already experienced and knows now. And just going down the same thing like I did before. And all this is preparation for is if I have to put a blanket or a sheet on him. So you see I have him body clipped. So I always like to do this preparation so they don't worry when I put the blanket on. That was really good. So then take back up a little bit. Again, chatting again with my student. He got a little worried when it went towards his nose, so I took it a little bit further back. So now I'm going to open it up a little more. And on the more nervous horses that aren't quite as secure as Aloe, I will keep it kind of bunched up and small. And if I have to do that for even a couple more days to get them kind of used to the sound and the feeling of it before I can start to open it up, you can definitely break the steps down that way. But Aloe is kind of letting you guys see this a bit like I'm in fast forward, but he is handling this really well. Now I'm able to kind of flip it over his back. And you'll see I let it kind of fall in between his legs. I mean, we've all kind of had situations where like the blanket may slip and you don't want to have your horse be startled or spook and take off running with your blanket and break it. So it's always good to kind of have them prepared for certain things like that. Now I'm going to make it bigger. Again, show it to him and then take it away. You'll see me looking back to make sure I'm in the frame of the camera. And then I take it away. And he's giving some nice, dropping his head, doing some lick and chews, kind of even coming to me, which is nice. Now I'm gonna flip it over a little more. Give him a good face rub. Now he walks forward with it on. And I don't want it to scare him or anything, so I find the opportunity to pull it off and then back away so I can get the draw to me. You can see he did a kind of a big blow there, a little release. He thought, that was different. So again, he got a little worried. Do it again, take the pressure off. Then just giving him a second to wait. And then go back, and you saw no flinch there, so that was really good. Even when the tarp kind of flapped up on the other side, give him a good rub. I'm letting him see it and kind of sniff it. Sometimes at this point that can scare them, but he handled that really well. And then making sure I take that away. That was a really nice moment. And again, he drops his head. Kind of comes in towards me. He's such a thinker, this one. And then I give him a reward there, patting him on his face. He does like the face rub. And that was pretty nice. Letting it go around his bum. Again, kind of taking that away. There we go, got the nice lick and chew. I have to sometimes be a little careful with him because he is so good, but that can be him just being internal. And I really need to give him the time to think about it and to take that deep breath. It's easy when they just stand there and take it, but sometimes you have to give those ones that stand there and take it that much longer to relax and let it go because they're just standing there versus running away. So I've opened it up a little bigger. Give him a face rub. Tell him he's a good boy. And pull it off and pull it away. And he's such a good boy. Now switching to the other side. And I like the little moments where he gets a little curious and wants to kind of come in towards me. It's always a good thing that they offer. And now doing it from this side. You can see he might be a little bit unsure. Give him a little face rub and then pull it away. And I just love how when I pull it away, he kind of wants to come to me. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it up and make it really narrow so I can practice teaching him to do it, walking over it on the ground. So same kind of concept, make it really small. Now, on some of your more flightier horses, I would definitely recommend doing this in a round pen, but because this is Aloe and he's really good, I can do this out in the field. He's also worked on ground tying. So I'm setting up my tarp, keeping it narrow to where the horse can see that they can go over the tarp. And I found that this works really well in the beginning stages. Sometimes they tend to jump over it the first time. And of course, I'm trying to reposition it so he gets a little bit of a dragging. But again, I'm having him follow. I'm not going at him with it. And then I'm going to... Now, I did not prepare him very well for that. I should have represented and come back around and let him have a better shot at it. But bless him, he said, oh, okay. So he's actually really funny because I have this set pretty narrow. And he chooses to step right on it. Now you see there I asked to change direction and he kind of came towards me. But at this moment I'm not going to use too much pressure on him for that mistake. I'm just going to hold my ground. And then I redirect it to the tarp and he kind of wants to stand and kind of feel the difference and paw at it a little bit. So I'm going to let him. Now I'm going to open up the tarp a little more. And again, I typically, their response in the beginning is to jump it at first. But Aloe being Aloe says, okay, I'll step right on the tarp. And I find, again, going to change directions, he gets a little stuck with that, but that's okay. This time he didn't. Still a little close in my space, but it was better. And now we had the dreaded where they paw on it and they pull it towards himself, but he handled that reaction really well. So then I'm going to ask him to walk to me and then reward that because that was super good. Sometimes that's where they get scared and run off. So if that happens, when they grab the tarp and scare themselves, I'll go and I'll put it back to more narrow and kind of restart the exercise again and teach them to go forwards when they get a little worried. But he was fine, clearly. So now I've made the tarp a little bit bigger. He's ground tying really well today. And now I'm just going to ask him from there. And the sending exercise over the tarp is also a good building block for loading in the trailer. I tend to use the same cues when I ask them to go into their stall, just so it's all the same. So when I ask them to go forward, they understand what that means. Now going to the right. That was really nice. And a good yield of the haunches. So we got a good face rub. So I was very happy with that. He was an excellent student and nailed the introduction to the tarp very good. So very pleased with Aloe in moving towards our tip challenge competition. And he does a really good ground tie right there for me. Good boy, Aloe.